One of the things that I find that happens with introverts, my loves, is we have this thing where we sometimes feel a little less than because we're always told that what we're doing is not enough. And it can really take a toll on how you feel about yourself. The thing is, we're often looking for external validation because that's what the world says. The world says, hey, you have to be important to someone. Hey, you have to show up for people. Oh, you have to do this for other people. But what about yourself? Can't you just love yourself? Can't you have self-love? Can't you do the things that you need to do because you need to do them and you want to do them and they make you happy and they make you joyous? So what better than to bring on a guest who specializes in self-love? I mean, like, this is something that you want to have when you want to hear about it. And I'm bringing on somebody today. Her name is Rachel. And it was kind of funny when she sent in everything. It was like she talked about how shy she was and how quiet she was and how little, she didn't want to do things because, being an introvert, it was something she had to step out. But now doing weekly lives, going on video, doing all these things. And I love the phrase she used. She says it's a beautiful evolution. This wasn't her changing who she was at her core. She's still an introvert. She is still Rachel. She has not changed who she is, but she has evolved into this next level, Rachel. And a lot of that is to do with how she took it on. So good morning, Rachel.
Oh, wow, Karen, thank you so much. That's so true. All of that. I love the language you're using, everything. I'm right on board with everything that you're saying. Amazing.
So you say that you were totally shy, but you something changed that you're like, okay, I have to evolve. I have to do this. What was that? What was that pivotal moment? What was made you go, oh, well, let me try this way instead?
I'm just going to back up even a little bit further because in elementary school, all my report cards say, Rachel's a social butterfly. And if she would just sit down and do her work, she would do amazing. And then there was a lot of things that happened in my childhood where I just retracted and I became very unsocial. And I still am more comfortable being unsocial and living my little routine. And I run ultra marathons. So I spend a lot of time alone with my thoughts and processing that way a lot more than I do spending time with people. Whereas then there's my fiance who has to go out and be around everybody and check on everybody. And we've just acknowledged that we're just different, right? And so it's interesting when I look back at my childhood and I can see there were some pivotal times where I just literally went back into my shell and that became my safe zone. And from that place, I struggled a lot. And like you said, with external validation, it is huge because that became the theme of my life where I was always trying to become a super achiever and do all these things, which was this high conflict inside of me because I'm pushing myself to do all these things and show up. And at one point I was president of a financial company and I'm putting on events that have 500 people plus, and I'm upstage trying to speak in front of them. And all I could get out was whatever I could spit out in one breath, because at that point I had stopped breathing. And so it was just, 2 or 3 sentences and I could get it out. And then I was off stage and so I was really good at introducing people, but that was it. That just wasn't my thing. And I think that is, like you mentioned it, it's one of the biggest disfavors that we do in our culture is trying to create everybody to be so uniform and to conform to a certain standard. And then a lot of the self-help industry even jumps on board with that, where they say, well, feel the fear and do it anyways, or overcome your fear or push past it. And I don't believe that any of that. If you have to force it, you are outside of where your power zone is. And our power zone expands the more we allow ourselves to feel safe in it. It doesn't expand by pushing yourself outside of it. It expands by knowing that it's okay to be where you are and to stop judging yourself at that place where you're at. So yes, my evolution has taken me to that place where there was a point when I started doing Facebook Lives, and I cried before the first Facebook Live I did because I was so nervous about it. And it was the same thing. I had to remind myself, breathe, otherwise you're not going to be able to talk for an hour. And now I have evolved to a place where, yes, I do a lot of lives. I do live coaching on Zoom, but I'm still on the other side of a camera, right? Where I'm still in my safe zone, but I'm having impact from my safe zone. So I think that's the key, is to figure out where is your safe zone, and then allow your mission to work within that safe zone. And eventually it does expand, because at some point you go, okay, well, I'm going to maybe try this, because now you're feeling comfortable. But safety is the key. If we don't feel safe, we're never ever going to be able to create change. We're in our survival brain, and survival does not match up with change. So we have to feel safe first, give ourselves permission to be exactly where we're at, and then look for opportunities just to grow slightly after you've achieved that safe zone.
I love that. I love how you're talking about the safe zone. I mean, we always hear, success is on the other side of here and now. You're like, do it anyway. The fear, oh, you have to stretch your comfort zones. Fear means two things, the one where it's run or face it. No, it's a safety zone. And the thing is, you have to do the growth internally to go, okay, well, I think I can put my toe outside my safety zone today and see what happens.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, hang on, why is my toe not going over? It's like the safety zone's getting bigger. There's a difference between feeling uncomfortable because you're growing and you're not sure how it's taking you, to being uncomfortable because you're afraid of what's going to happen.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
So on that, how would you tell someone okay, let's take a few minutes and expand that safety zone? How would you help them develop that?
I think one of the biggest keys for that, which is, a big part of how I coach people at the beginning stages, is that we are taught, first we have to realize how much we're conditioned to believe that we're wrong. And so we can see that even from childhood, right? Where you're sitting down at the table and you're told that you need to finish your food, and you're like, well, I'm full. And they're like, no, you need to eat anyways. You still got food on your plate. And so then you start becoming desensitized even to your hunger. Or say that you're at school and you put your hand up and, can I go to the washroom? No, you can wait. And you're just like, actually, I can't wait. I need to go now, right? But we become desensitized to our bladders. We become desensitized to our sleep. We become desensitized to all these things. So I think that's the first key, is to start honoring yourself. And then the second key is, and this is one thing I encourage people to do, is go back to those things that you used to do as a child, those things that excited you. So whether it was painting or singing or whatever that is for you, start doing that for 15 minutes a day. And it's for two reasons. One, because it helps you to become more sensitive to what ignites you, what excites you, what lights you up. And then from that place, then you might evolve through that excitement. So if you become, you start, doing more painting or something like that. Maybe you want to take a painting class, and that's evolution. Maybe you want to start putting your pictures that you paint on Instagram. That's evolution, right? And so we just find what it is that lights us up, what excites us. And then from that place, then we start feeling a little bit more safe of showing the world that piece of us. And so that's often how I'll encourage people, because it's so important to get back in touch with what excites you. And that's actually who you are. That is where your core individuality is. And then allow that to pull you forward through your evolution.
So I'm going to pick up on something you said there, and it's actually in your first point, and that was being able to honor yourself. And I think that is a key part of self-love, because a lot of people think self-love is selfish.
Yes.
But it's not. It's about honoring yourself. And I do know you have a 5-day class, group coming up for self-love as well. What kind of things do you talk about with self-love? How do you help people go from the selfish to the honoring?
Yeah. Well, to differentiate first between selfish and self-love, if you're actually being around all the listeners, I'm sure, have been around somebody who is very heavy energetically, and every time you're around them, you just feel drugged down, and you just don't feel, like yourself. You just feel like you need to go home and take a nap, or you just got to go take a rest just because you're in their presence. And that's actually, to me, that's how I would define selfish. Is that selfish is when you need somebody else's energy to make you feel good, when you can't activate that within yourself. So that, to me, is what is a definition of selfish. It is not going out and doing those things that light you up, because you're not, when you're lit up, when you're excited about your life, you're not an energy drag. You are somebody who actually exudes energy. You have high vibes, and people then can flourish off of that. So that's the one differentiation I see between selfish and self-love. And another thing is that so much of self-love has been wrapped into this idea of self-care, or massages, or getting your nails done and that kind of stuff. And I'm not any of those things. I get my massages because I'm a runner, but other than that, I'm not the kind of person who needs pampering. And I don't believe that that's everybody's translation of what self-love is. And so when I'm talking to people about, do you have self-love? I always ask them, what's the first thing when you look in the mirror in the morning? What's the first thing that you say to yourself? And if it is something derogatory, like, oh, look at my wrinkles, or my bags under my eyes, or I'm getting older, or some form of life depleting comment to yourself, then it's time to up level your self-love. That's how you can gauge it. If you can look in the mirror and say, good morning, sunshine, or, some kind of positive thing, the way that you would talk to a child, if you can talk to yourself that way, then you've got that self-love thing activated in your world. But it takes us a lot, because we've been so conditioned to believe that we're wrong, or that, we don't belong, or that we're not doing it right. And so we spend our whole life trying to figure out what the right way is, when the right way is so individualized, and it needs to be geared towards each person.
You're absolutely right. And I think the biggest area that impacts that is with introverts. We're always told, no, you just need to talk to more people. No, you just need to come out of your shell. Oh, no, if you just did this, you'd do better. And it's all these extroverted things that we're asked to do because that's what's going to fix it. So with an introvert, they've been conditioned that they cannot be themselves.
Yes.
They've been conditioned that they have to act extra, even if it's just for a little while, be extroverted and deal with it and fake it till you make it. What would you say to someone who always hears that?
I would just encourage people just to, like I said, just to find what excites you, what lights you up, and allow yourself, and I say 15 minutes a day, because we can all find 15 minutes a day. And it's so important, because the more that you do that, it's really interesting, because the world mirrors us and our beliefs back to us. So as you do these things, as you show up for yourself, as you make yourself a priority, then it's interesting to watch the way that the world can then mirror you and appreciate you and celebrate you in the way that you're celebrating yourself. So we are the ones who have to take the lead first, but we're doing things for ourselves in a way that fill up our tank, so that we're not needing to get it from anybody else. Like in my past relationships, I had a history of that external validation, of going to them, trying to make them happy, not thinking my needs were important, giving from a very depleted well, not sleeping because I had little kids, but still trying to, wear all the hats and play the perfect wife role, play the perfect mom role, all those kinds of things, and still be social on top of it. And it was just like, it was way too much for me. And so when I said, okay, I'm not a super social person, I'm just, that's a battle that maybe I'll fight one day. But for right now, I'm just going to concentrate on doing what I can do well for me. And so then it became, that evolution came out of those things that I enjoy doing. And then you build up that little bit of confidence of, okay, I can do this for myself, which means that no matter where I am, I'm also there. And no matter what I do, It's me doing it. And so you start connecting the dots of, okay, no matter what setting I'm in, I'm still there. And you need to become your own best friend, because no matter where you are, you're always there. So even when you're in those uncomfortable settings where there's a whole bunch of people around, or where you're supposed to be meeting new people or networking, at least you know you're there. And you can find the little things in those moments still that light you up, right? It might be, oh, I'm noticing someone's necklace. That's a beautiful necklace. Or, you just try and touch in with those things that keep you in your zone of appreciation, in your zone of centeredness, in your zone of your individuality, and stop trying to live your life according to somebody else's world. Like, it's amazing how much we judge ourselves, which is actually a threat protection mechanism, why we judge ourselves, and that's to keep ourselves safe. But unfortunately, we're judging those aspects of us, and we're seeing ourselves as a threat, just like as an animal would see themselves or see other animals as threats out in the wild. We're seeing ourselves as a threat in the same way. And so we talk that way to ourselves, and then we're cutting ourselves down. We're not being our own best friend. So no matter where you go, you're going to be there. So it's really important to cultivate that relationship with yourself first, so that at least wherever you go, you got yourself to rely on.
You're right there. We tend to not talk to ourselves the same way we would talk to a family member or a best friend or a child. Like, when they mess up, we'll be like, oh, it's okay, we can try again. But when oh my gosh, why did you do that? The difference is insane. So cultivating that relationship with yourself and being able to look at yourself in the mirror like you are your own best friend, to say things how you would say it to them, is so empowering. And gives you that opportunity to stretch your circle, because you feel secure, you feel safe, you feel protected. So, Rachel, should our audience want to find you, where would they find you, and what information could they get from you?
Oh, wonderful. It depends on people's flavor of what they're into. So I have a YouTube channel, which you can just look up my name. It's just YouTube, Rachel Poffenroth. And I have a lot of videos on there and it talks about everything about self-love, about why we judge ourselves, how to move beyond limiting beliefs, how to let go of your past, those kinds of things. Or the other place where a lot of people like the free content is on my Instagram. And that's because I post regular high vibe reels, which reminds people of the truth of who you are. And so I get a lot of feedback from people that say, on those days where I'm feeling a little bit down and I just look at your channel, you've always got something there that picks me up and reminds me, oh, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, or I am I am important. I do matter. I am here for a reason. And so that's what all those, my high vibe reels offer. And then same with on Tuesday, as you mentioned, I do my lives on Tuesday on Instagram as well. And people can ask questions also if they have anything that's, pertaining to the subject. So those two places, as far as social goes, I mean, I am everywhere, but those are the two places where you get the most free content. And then also my website, which is rachelpoffenroth.com. And there's a 5-day free self-love challenge that you can just take and download and do it at your own pace. And it also includes a self-love guided meditation, because a lot of times self-love feels so foreign to us that we don't even know, what is it that we're even looking for when we're looking for that self-love moment. And so the meditation is actually called the cloak of self-love. So it's just like as if somebody was embracing you and allowing you to feel loved. And then from that place, what would you change in your world so that you can feel this way all the time? So it just helps to get those neurons firing in a way that are going to be supportive even after the meditation.
Oh, I love that. I love that you have meditations, because those are just key. Those few minutes that you spend with yourself can open up so many doors.
Yes.
So many opportunities. Okay, my loves, I appreciate everything that Rachel's brought to us today. What tool are you going to take in your toolbox? Like, put it in the social media, put it on the podcast comments. Let us know what it is that made you go, oh, okay, I can do that. I can act that in. I can see where that takes us. And I'm going to put all of Rachel's links in the show notes. So you'll see her YouTube channel, you'll see her website, you'll see the 5-day challenge. All these things will be available to you. Rachel, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you coming in and having this little chat with us and just sharing some of your thoughts on this. It has been a great talk.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, till next time, my loves. Ta-ra for now.